Good afternoon, everybody, and well done for staying the course because it's been a long day, I know. And congratulate you. I'm delighted everyone's staying safe and doing what they need to do. So my name's Ian Bourne from a company called Cloud 2020, and our company is focused entirely on Dynamics 365 and the Power Platform. So I'm going to talk to you this afternoon about marketing. Now, I'm A, not a marketeer, and B, not a geek. So I am talking to you very much from kind of an end user in some respects, but with a passion for this product. And I just want to share with you some of my observations and some of my experiences and one or two other things. So that's where we are. There we go. So the aim was, as per broadcast, look at marketing, what it is, etc., etc. So as a result of that, this is the agenda. So I'm going to talk about what it does. We'll have a look at some of the latest features, but I'm going to probably entwine that in the demo, so we get on to actually opening the toy box and having a look inside, but putting out some of my favourites of the latest features, which are numerous, but we'll come back to that. I want to talk about use cases. We'll obviously do a demo, but then very much open to Q&A and discussions. Now, you should never start a presentation with an apology, but I've had one of those days today. So those of you that don't know me, I live in the country, and my internet's gone down. So I'm operating off a laptop and a 4G router gaffer taped to the window. So as a result of which, I can't see the question and answer pane. So please, could somebody keep an eye on that for me? And please do butt in if we think it's appropriate. I might ask to take it later, but could somebody monitor the Q&A for me? That'd be really
I'll
good.
be doing that for you, Ian. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Okay. So what does it do? Well, this is the official answer. Now, I spoke with the product team in Seattle last week, and this was a snapshot out of a screen they sent me of their elevator pitch. And it's very much around buyer's journeys, mobile channel, all that kind of clever stuff, right? As a non-marketer, that doesn't actually mean that much to me. So therefore, this is what I think it does. Now, I say all these views are my own, not necessarily as Microsoft or even my own company potentially. Anyway, what it does account-based marketing in the age of GDPR, is my view. So I've been involved with marketing very from the early days when it was first mooted that Microsoft was going to produce a platform for marketing that went beyond the very basic features in Dynamics 365, which is basically accounts, contacts, and marketing lists. The fact that it's been built from the ground up, all under the shadow of GDPR, means that it does really come from the point of view of account-based marketing. And you'll see that as we start looking at some of the sectors and the way that segmentation, what have you, and the way that's built up. You have to really know somebody before you can engage in this process or have a legitimate channel to speak to somebody as part of this process. The good news is, whilst no platform can make you GDPR compliant, this platform sure supports that process very strongly, very powerfully. So it also does, in my view, communications. Now, you could argue that's what marketing is, communications, but both internal and external. And we're seeing some really interesting examples of internal communications using this platform. That links in with events management. So events management, it's quite interesting how when we talk to customers and say, do you guys do events? And the answer is, no, not really, we're not really that interested. So, well, let's just have a couple of minutes on events whilst you talk about it, whilst you're showing you the rest of marketing. And then suddenly the use case boils out of that conversation. So it might be internal webinars for external, for customer suppliers, goodness knows what. So that's events management, and we'll have a look at that in a minute. I also think actually it's a process tool. Now, this might be a little bit off the wall, but the fact it has such great process management within it means we can actually use it to enable processing, and I'll show you that as well. So no Microsoft presentation will be complete unless you, through this diagram into the mix. But I actually think there's a reason for this, because obviously marketing sits on the left hand at 9 o'clock there, the engaged customers bit. Obviously it sits there. I think it also sits in the 12 o'clock loop as well, because this is where you can talk to your own team, your own people, internal, external, consultants, whatever. And by engaging them in communications, then you're empowering them as well, and using Dynamics as marketing as the platform for that. I think also this lower loop at 6 o'clock actually is an opportunity as well for marketing. So let's move that forward a bit. This is the again, the official feature summary as supplied by colleagues from Microsoft last week. It's actually reducing the number of items they're showing on here, because at one stage it was try and add all the bits and pieces in here to make it look, that it was a full product. And I think perhaps, being subjective, this time last year it probably wasn't quite such a full product. Now it is. So these blocks tend to be more higher level. And you can see the way that they're put into columns here. Again, no Microsoft presentation these days would be complete unless you mention things like AI capabilities, which is built as part of the built-in under the skin. And again, we'll look at that in a minute. So, what are the latest features? Now, I mention it up here now because I just want to kind of get it on the table. And all I've done here is ripped out of docs.microsoft.com what is being rolled out in wave 1 of 2020. And I'm going to I shall show you some of these as part of the demo. The point is that there is continuous update to this platform at the moment. That was very high level features and functions are rolling out at the biannual rollouts. It is being updated pretty well continuously in terms of small fixes and what have you. Some of these are really exciting, and particularly things like automated schedulers and spam checkers and what have you. Some of them were really, really appropriate to bring in, such as the testing the emails with dynamic content. Not being able to test that before it went out really was not very positive. Anyway, we'll come back to the latest features soon, but if you want to go and see what they are, then obviously you've always got the roadmap, which is available at docs.microsoft.com, and also that will show you where the release dates are. You can sign up for the pre-release as well, which is always handy, so you get your hands on the toys ahead of everybody else and get a chance to try them out. Of course, that always comes with its risks that some of them don't necessarily work full-time first time, but if you're excited by new stuff as I am, then the roadmap is a great place to have a dive around. Okay, so I'm going to look at use cases from two different directions, really. First of all, the use case in terms of the platform itself. So it's obviously appropriate to companies that have a marketing department, clearly. It's also appropriate for companies with an outsourced marketing department, because you're buying this, you buy this as a platform deployment, not individuals. You will need to license the individuals coming in, but the advantage of if you have an outsourced marketing resource is the fact that your IP, your brand sits within this platform, and they are coming in to work on it with you and to help and guide you through that process, but it all sits with you. It might be that you've got your company that buys in, designs, and executes internally. Now, we're finding that with a lot of smaller companies who are enabled by this platform to actually do their own marketing, but they may not have it's very common they do not have the design expertise in-house, and they're going out and bringing that in, and that kind of works. So looking at it in a slightly different way, what is it from a more external perspective? Well, obviously customer loyalty, that's what this is about. You know, when you talk to marketeers and they talk about how the split between marketing and sales has shifted from 20/80 to 80/20, then that's where this is about. This is about communicating regularly to your customers, new and old, and so they understand what it is you sell, how you sell it, and why they should engage with you. What makes you different from everybody else? Very simple example. My wife is a massively enthusiastic gardener. There are 2 garden centres down the road from us, literally next door to each other. The one she goes to is the one that communicates with her. There's nothing more different about it than that. Very, very simple example. But I also think about the supply side as well. Partners, suppliers, communicating with them regularly so they know what you're doing and you're keeping them up to date means that they can actually support you as well. I mentioned staff communications. I think this is getting more and more important these days, managing the talent. So we have what we are finding is some large companies are actually using this for their sales kickoffs, communicating around current price lists, the focal point for latest data on their products and pricing, that type of thing. Obviously, product promotions. So something new's coming out, tell everybody about it, of course. But those people that you know and you have the right to speak to. And then I mentioned event promotion and management, and that is not just physical events these days, and more, obviously, with the current environment, this is virtual. But in fact, what we're finding now that since the lockdown, we've had customers come to us because we can help manage this more tenuous communications where people aren't meeting eye to eye, but they are actually running events virtually. And the standard old lead prosecution thing. At what point, again, looking at the 80% that marketing are doing these days in that sales process, make sure the customer understands what you sell, how you sell it, what the options are, what the pricing's like, why you're the best person to buy it from, and then when you get to that sales ready point, pass across the leads to make the sale. Okay. So, have we got any questions so far, or shall we just lift the lid on the toy box and have a look inside?
We don't have any questions. There's just a couple of comments. David Ruston says he's putting his family has a tree and shrub business that he's looking to put this into. So it was just a comment, and they said maybe you should get them to test their emails on your wife.
Exactly that. As a fact, she needs no encouragement, so I'm not going to give her an email address. Literally 5 minutes before we went live, the delivery van turned up. Goodness knows what that was about. So anyway,
dear,
no encouragement required.
No questions. Thanks, Ian.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's dive in to let's dive in. So, okay. So first of all, when you implement Dynamics for Marketing, and it is a standard app like any other, which you can find by going into left-hand screen there. There it is, marketing. Then this is what you see is your introductory screen. Now, it's encouraging you, it's drawing you in to straight away create an email, pinpoint your audience, and build an automated campaign. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. But whoa, back off. There's quite a bit to do before you do that, in my opinion. And the more you do around making that appropriate, the work behind it, the more this will work and the more compliant you'll be. But a couple of things about this opening screen. There's some great documentation. There's some really good documentation around marketing. The team in Seattle work really hard, I believe, to keep us up to date, which takes some doing because it's moving forward very fast. I would like to give you a shout out to this support community, though. Again, very active and a little spooky because it's actually monitored by the Microsoft product team. And I raised a question one Saturday morning in a little fit of exasperation to be responded to by somebody who pointed out that I actually hadn't upgraded to the latest version. And I thought, well, how do you know that? And then it dawned on me, this was actually somebody in Microsoft who checked out my platform for me. So you will get some really good community people on there, but also Microsoft themselves are on there. And also, if you want to pitch your ideas about what you want as features next, then this is where you can do it. Okay, so before we get started, though, we have to do some basic setup. And like I say, there's quite a bit of it. So I'm not going to go into detail here, but for example, this is about your domain. So this, by setting this up, this enables you now to use marketing to send out from your domain, and hopefully not to get too caught out in spam filters and that type of thing. Really good article by Megan Walker on this, actually, which I think she's just published. I want to make sure I'm not giving anything away there, but I'm pretty certain she just published, and really, really in depth about how to make sure that all your marketing efforts are not wasted by them publishing it out. But that is just one of many, many settings that need to be set up to get this platform up on its feet. Okay, so talking of domains, once we move out of the setting, but before I leave this area, I want to make special mention of things like the data protection tools and website entities, that type of thing, and there's lots of switches in here you need to get right, so that otherwise you'll find if you don't do the homework here first, you'll find yourself having to keep coming back to this to switch things on to make it work. You'll notice, of course, down here LinkedIn, and we'll see that in a minute. LinkedIn firmly under the lid in this platform. This one I particularly like because in here you can switch on, it's not showing up at the moment, but what you can switch on, or maybe through here, is some new features. And the latest one, which I was ridiculously excited about, was Forms Pro integration into Dynamics, something I've been lobbying for long and hard, and it is now available, and you'll see that in a minute. Okay, so we've got the core areas here. We've got settings, events, and marketing. So let's go into the marketing area and split into some fairly straightforward areas. But if you come down to the bottom here, this is where you've got some, not exactly setup, not core settings, but some setup areas. I mentioned, but not entirely obvious, because in fact you've also got some up here. Now I mentioned websites. We've already told Microsoft Dynamics Marketing that you are allowed to send web emails from here. But what this does here actually is it actually validates your websites as well. And the reason you need to do this is because you want your websites to tell you things. So you've got a couple of really good scripts in here. This one here validates a website, and this one allows form capture, which does actually two things really. One is it allows you to, it says, yes, you can capture data off forms on this website, but it also enables the forms to be pre-populated in some instances. But as soon as you light that up, of course, what you can get is information around where you're getting your hits from. And so this is monitoring your website now, and you can go into some detail here. Again, because it's a Microsoft platform, one thing you'll notice all the way through this is the fact there's some really good metrics. And these metrics are just getting better and better as the product matures. So hopefully you can see these. So this is just based on the website. And of course you can drill into these and find exactly where people are reaching out to you from, which fascinates me. Goodness knows why we're getting these hits, but we are. And maybe if it's a marketeer, I'd find out and do something about it. Over on the left-hand side again, though, we have the ability to set up loads and loads of templates. Now, I'm going to talk about these, and then I'm not actually going into detail here, but I will in a minute, of some of them, because they have some important features. But journeys is what the whole process is around. You're taking people on a journey, and that is using emails, HTML pages, forms, and fields and content. And these also are templates for phone calls, tasks, and appointments. And you'll see those in a minute in some of these journeys. The core of it is, though, you also need to know who you're talking to. And that is what segmentation's about. So let's go into segmentation. So let's have a look at, say, this one here. And you'll notice that it is almost impossible to create a segment without starting with contact. This is about people. This is about account-based marketing, but talking to people that you have a right to speak to. You'll notice that I can't do anything here. This is because this is live. This is actually in use. Now, what you used to have to do is just stop it, edit it, and restart it. We do now have this sneaky edit button, which will now after it's warned to me, this is a live record, allow me to edit this. And here we've got, we started out with looking for a segment of contact that happens to be associated with account where the relationship equals customer. Now we have this entity called, this field called relationship type within our dynamics. And we have various categories in there: customer, partner, distributor, active customer, that type of thing. But we can add more to this now. So let's say we added a condition to this, which is an attribute of, say, created on. So there's created on. And this, we now have lots of opportunities here. So we can, some of these are very new features actually. So here we can have within the next day, or we can stretch that out. We can say from now or before. So we can do some very complex things around time these days, or specific dates. So that's very cool. We can add lots more entities around this case, the account, or we can look in different groups. There's different views around this. So we've got the tree view and the, so a lot of this is how you visually see data. Down here, we can add more blocks around this query or a behavioral block. Now, behavior is really, this is a great little toy. This is a super little toy. Have a look at all the things you can look at within here. So we can look at some activities. We can have a look at, obviously, the email. We can look at, and I did wonder why we'd want to know when an email has been blocked by a user. But in actual fact, that is quite cool because you can actually do that and say, right, somebody's not managing this account properly because somebody's just blocked that email. Go and find out why they're not happy with you, but don't tell them you know because they've blocked your email. We can look at event management in here and forms. This is the forms pro bit. Has the form been submitted? Has a question been responded to? And then we've got LinkedIn, and then obviously coming right down to websites. So some really powerful ways of segmenting your data. And you need that because you need to, that is the most common way of starting a customer journey. So let's have a look at an example customer journey. I hope I'm not talking to myself here, because I say I'm sitting in this bubble where I have no interaction with what's going on. And it's not the way I normally operate. I normally talk to people. So somebody pitch in and let me know if this is not working.
You are doing fine, Ian. We're all listening intently.
We're still here.
Thanks, guys. Brilliant. Okay. This is a customer journey. Now, this is, I've thrown this together as a demo to give you some examples. The first thing you've done, you can see here is I've added a segment, and I've added a couple of segments into there. So this is showing what's going on. This is the whole journey, and it might look a bit complicated, but in actual fact, let me talk you through what this does, and then we'll look at a live one because then you'll see some stats. So let me open this out a bit so it's a bit bigger. There we go. Right. So for somebody that likes toys like I do, this toy box over here is awesome, but let's have a look at this. Okay, so we start off with a segment. So when people go into that segment, they now start the journey. Now, just a point, I would suggest most segments would be dynamic, i.e., when somebody qualifies to enter that segment, they start that journey. You can have static segments, so you might just have a list of people that you invite to the Christmas party, or golf day or something. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. But anyway, when they join that segment, they start the journey. So in here now, let's send them an email message. That's what you normally do. So we'll send them an email message, and it's called Lifting the Lid on Dynamics 365 Webinar. And this is what it is. Now, you notice legal designation. This is GDPR firmly woven right through this process. It's going to try and keep you safe. You notice here, this is a new feature. This is mail expiration. Now, in my case here, there's no point it going too far. So if somebody for some reason fell into this segment next week, there's no point in them receiving this email. It's the same with an offer on a product or a sale. You may have a product offer expire, in which case you would set an expiration date. That's a new feature and very helpful, very helpful. So, okay, we send out the email. We want to check whether it's opened. So if it is opened, brilliant. We'll wait for a week. Wait until the week before. So I've now set a scheduler which has got a specific date and time involved in it. And then I send them the email, which is the 7-day countdown, only 7 days to this event. And then I tell them to wait until the Monday before and then send them out the email. And then send them an email that the event is on Monday to remind them to rock up on Monday morning. And then the day after follow-up, and this is the lovely one, we then can open up a partner feedback survey. So what I can do then is come in here, pick up Proform survey, and that will then pick up that survey. So if some of you get that after this event, you'll know where it came from. However, that might not be, that's the perfect route, okay? But in this case, got to here, email wasn't opened. Okay, we'll give them a couple of days maybe. And then we'll send out a different email. Now, I could have A/B split tested this, to be perfectly honest. So I could have had 2 different emails with the same message but written slightly differently or less graphics or what have you to try and get through to people. But in this case, I've decided to wait for 2 days and send them a different email. And if that was, again, I've done another check. And if that didn't work, I've created an activity, which is a task here, which will show up in your Outlook and all that kind of good stuff if you allow that to be synchronized, and says for one of the team to go and check whether we've got these contact details right anymore or whatever. And then we then carry on and then kick into the other process. So that's an example of a customer journey. But let's have a look at one that's live. Now I've got to be a bit careful because there might be some real names in here. So excuse me if I suddenly drop off a screen, it's because I shouldn't be showing you real people. Let's try this one here. No, it's in draft. Hang on. Let's try this one here. Okay. Because, as I said before, what makes this all very exciting is the statistics. So in here, if we look here, if you look overview here, we started the journey, it's been published, and it's all happening. Brilliant. And here we sent 318 emails, and this was this email here, and you can see that out of 318 processed. And we had not a bad, we had 25% unique. That's pretty good, and some click-throughs and what have you. But let's click this button here. This is where you're getting real geeky, because now you're driving down into some of those stats. And obviously this is reading the stats off Exchange, so you're getting some pretty good stuff going through here. So some delivered, unique opens. So some people, more than twice the people opened it twice. Maybe they didn't. Yeah, that's interesting. 21 unique clicks and all that kind of good stuff. You can see some response over time here. And what I thought here, yes, okay. In this one here, for one email, you've got an initial response, and then we got a couple little humps going on there. So that's interesting. I say a good marketeer would make a lot more of this than I am at the moment. And there's delivery. We can see which links were clicked through. This is great. This is the old heat map. So this shows you where customers could click through or contacts could click through and where they actually did click through. So in this case here, they went to the landing page for the event and also to the session app, which is pretty useful. Cool. So that's just on that. And then we move through and we can see yet again, 77 got through to that point, 241 bailed through to here. They got the second email. We check some more emails sent, stats, what have you. And then we got down to here. And again, we can see some more unique information around this. All pretty cool stuff. So that shows you, you can see live what's happening with your stats. Now, to get to do that though, actually involved quite a bit of setup. So what I'm going to do for the moment is I'm going to edit this journey. Now that stops it, okay? So this, nothing's going to happen on this for the moment. But what you can do, and again, something that's really good about this process now is the fact that with some of these now, you can actually live edit within that journey. Before, we used to have to always close the journey down, go and find the email, do something with it, set it to live and come back. But now you can dive from within the journey. So what we're seeing here is, and I'm going to edit this. Okay. Again, that stops that email. Yep. And it's working in our customer journey. And you can see here we've got some custom code going in, which is very straightforward. It's pick and select. You can build that into the headers and what have you if you wanted to. You could add some custom code in here and so on. So you can, a far better marketeer than I can make these really, really funky, including custom headers and all sorts of good stuff. In here, I've actually added some content blocks. So here, this toolbox here. So I've only created one header and this footer. Those are content blocks and they drop in automatically. There's a lot of information in the summary here that you can build on. You need to make sure you get these right. Obviously, reply to addresses that are personal will get you through more spam and all that kind of good stuff. And then you can actually look at the insights within here, again, of that individual email. So we can see some results coming through here, which links were clicked through on and where they were clicked through from. So goodness knows what's going on in Canada. But anyway, there we go. Right, so that's an example of an email. But emails can also link to marketing pages and marketing forms. Now, these are really important. And this, I mentioned earlier how there's a need to do a lot of setup. And the reason for that is because you have to set up a subscription list, which has to be at least one. There's one set up automatically for you. Let me find, there's subscription lists. Okay. You have to set up a subscription list, and so that you can manage that. And the other thing is, just a little hint, make the subscription lists customer facing. Don't put on a subscription list, you know, those miserable gits that aren't speaking to me anymore, because you actually expose these when you create some of your subscription list forms. You actually drop them in. So allow me to show you what I mean by that. If we come onto the forms, you'll see here, for example, we have a subscription form, contact us. And in here, you invite the customer to, so I'd have to edit this one to be able to show you. At the moment, all they can do is block out from emailing. That would stop them from ever speaking to them again. What you can do is you can drop in here a subscription list. So you could pick up, for example, customer newsletter info, drop that into here. That would create a checkbox so that customers could either sign up to your custom newsletter info or do not email me. Okay, so that's marketing forms. There's quite a few that you need to set up. You need to set up forms for updating subscriptions. You need forms for effectively a new from a contact. So this is the first time they contact you. And you need to also, alongside that, create marketing pages for, well, you don't have to, but I think it's imperative for thanking them for giving consent and thanking them for subscribing. And the reason for this is because if we go to a standard default marketing page, hang on. Yes, and if we go into, again, have to edit it to stop it, make it work. Okay. Yep. Because if you go into the summary, and I've gone to the wrong page here. Let's go to the marketing page, sorry. Marketing form, sorry. And go to subscription form. Yes, this one here, this is an example. You have the option to enable double opt-in or not. And I think in this day and age, there's no question about it. You have to enable double opt-in. It seems appropriate. But the moment you do, you see that I can't do it at the moment because this one's locked. But well, as soon as you do, you then have to fill out all these bits and pieces here, which includes the confirmation email I showed you and some marketing pages and what have you. And also, obviously, content settings. Now, content settings are, it's things like you have to have your address noted in there. Otherwise, Dynamics will not allow you to send anything to anybody. So when you create a subscription form or any type of form and you enable double opt-in, you'll need to do all this. But it's worth the effort. And if you're careful about the design, you can recycle a load of this content more than once, especially if you have the core information in there and then drop in your content blocks that I mentioned about. So for example, email footer, which just shows that bit there. Okay, right. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, 1 minute. Now, like I say, I'm trying not to get down too many in the weeds here, but what I hope I've shown you so far is that it's all about the customer journey. And that customer journey doesn't have to be a customer. It can be a member of the, it could be a supplier, it could be a partner, it could be a member of the team, whatever. And it's about giving them some, you know, a process that a ride they join on. I want to show a couple of others in here. So for example, here's one. This is where I talked about using Dynamics as a process tool. So let's imagine we sold Dynamics for marketing to a customer. They could then be a new customer for marketing. Everyone likes to get a welcome email, so they'd get a welcome email. Then we have a survey which asks some. Has music started somewhere?
No, I can't hear anything.
In your head, Ian.
For some reason, there's country music playing on my headphones. How bizarre. I've no idea where from.
Unfortunately, I can't hear it. It'd be quite nice.
That is the bizarrest thing ever.
Somebody's hacked your Bluetooth or something.
That's bizarre. It's just even on. That's no idea.
Emma didn't hear your comment about the about buying things.
Are you still with us, Ian?
He's had to. I think he's gone to find out. There he is. He's back again.
No, it's gone now. Sorry about that, folks, but you're all still there.
Yes, we're here. Thank you.
We're playing country music in my ear. Bizarre. Okay, quick recap. So this is where I'm using Dynamics Marketing as a process tool. new customer marketing. I send them a nice email. I send them a Forms Pro survey about how they want their platform set up. I'll give them 2 days to answer. If the question is answered, no, in that case, call them. Where are they? If not, there's an activity for the dev team to set up with the environment. Wait a day and then send them another one around core customization and then an activity. So that's a process in marketing. That's slightly offbeat. And then here's another one, which is LinkedIn. Now, I think this is, so this is just basically, hang on a minute, I think I've got a better version of that. Let's have a look. LinkedIn campaign, maybe. Yeah, okay. So in this case here, this is a LinkedIn campaign. And what I'm looking for is whether a LinkedIn form has been submitted. If it has, then that contact gets a thank you email, and then there's an activity to arrange a demo. So integration with LinkedIn, extremely powerful, and you'll notice that's over on the right-hand side here. Here we go, a LinkedIn campaign. We can also create workflows and update records and all clever stuff like that. So that's journeys. So recap, it's all about the journey. But before you can do that, you need to understand your segments, basically your key triggers. You need to be able to have all your templates and what have you set up to run. And then as a result of which, you then can score the result. So let me give you an example of a lead score. This is all about getting a customer ready for handover to the sales team to go and make the kill. So here you can see if somebody's opened a specific email, whether they've been to a specific website or a page in a website, or even a URL. I'll show that in a minute. And then whether they've been on a demo, you can actually have negative points as well if they are blocked. And then you can create these scores. Now, actually, I will go back to the scoring model, because in there, I have developed also a scoring grade. So, hang on, scoring models. Go to all scoring models. Oh, okay. One of these, I've got a grade going on, not that one, right? The other one there. So in the grades, yes. So what we said here is we've set that in this scoring model, cells are ready when the score reaches 30. So the grade is, they might be from 0 to 20, looks like they are from 20 to 30. Now, obviously, you don't have bronze, silver, and gold, or what have you, things like that. What you could do then is your leads then that come out of that, when you get a lead, there is a score option in here where you can see if they've hit any of your lead scores in the scoring model, what the score was, or what the score status is, and so on. Obviously, you can have different views of that, so that your sales literally have a view of scores that have hit certain grades. Right. Okay. Now I'm going to move on because I've only got a few minutes left, and I want to take some Q&A. Social posts. So social's built into here as well. Really powerful stuff. So here's one here that was sent out. Time tracking in Teams, and that actually caused some forms to be submitted. So where is down here, and I think we had a couple of submissions from here, actually from people I know, which is very kind of them. So in the submissions, sorry, in the insights over here, yeah, we had 2 submissions. We can actually dive into the submission, see who they came from, and you can look into that data. So this is linking a social post that had a URL in it that was clicked through, recognized who I was, and so on. These redirect URLs are really, really powerful. So these can be, you can see when people are moving from one part of your website to another, or a short link in a LinkedIn post, all that kind of stuff, and you can track those and see when people are really interacting with you. Okay, I want to talk about a couple more things very briefly. One is events. So events. Here are some events. And I've got a demo here from some outfit called Dynamics 365 UG. So here's the event. It's a conference. It could be one of those types, and it's on site. Now that's actually obviously not going to happen for a while, but because it's on site, it has a location. We have some venue constraints, but we set a waiting list of 10. So on this event here, 70 people can register, of which 10 will be on the waiting list, and they will be automatically invited as people dropped off. We can see here we've got an agenda, and we've got a view here. So this is, I've set this for tomorrow, mainly so that we can see what's happening, going to happen live tomorrow. And we've got some titles going on there. We have session tracks. This one's for partners, and we have speaker engagements. So we'll add a new one, and demo. Speaker's going to be, because I think there's only one in there. Yeah, and cost very expensive is 230 quid, and the session is going to be next generation, next steps. Brilliant. Okay, so that's the agenda. This builds a website for you, and you can enable all these elements in the website, including things like customer registration fields for people who might have dietary or disability issues. That's actually accessibility issues. Then we can register the attendance in here, so people can apply online. They can pay because you can add in a payment portal. You can, so let's go and have a look at the website. So click on here, and it's going to open up the web portal. Now, obviously, this isn't branded very well. I've got this beautifully pixelated logo behind of the D365 UG, but you'll see here that we've got some sessions. We've got some session tracks, and if we look in there, it tells you what they are. We've got some speakers. There's only one apparently, and we've also got some sponsors. So very, very basic, but hopefully you can see there, this is full event management, which even goes to the extent of the amount of hotel rooms you've booked out ahead, some costs, some facilities requirements, that type of thing for running events. And of course, all those interventions can be linked into your customer journeys. So you can see when somebody applies to be a participant in an event, when somebody actually attends a session, all those type of things you can have as part of your customer journey. And obviously post the event, then you can add in your event surveys. And here I've added one, which is the post 365 UG event survey. You saw it earlier on referencing that customer journey. So events, brilliant. I'm just going to look at my little checklist here, which I've probably not covered even a part of, but let's see. Yeah, there's a couple of really good latest release stuff that's come out, particularly in, for example, spam checker. Now, could argue this should have been in a long time ago, but if you look at, say, for example, this email here, and I need to edit it to be able to do this, but you can go into here and you can say to it, check my spam. And we've got 3 issues on here. So the last one, your message mostly boring. Yeah, fine, I'll write boring messages. I've never quite worked out why the host name being a long hexadecimal sequence an issue, especially as the host is Microsoft. But anyway, I need to work on that and get my risk management down. I've lost my list now here. Where's my list? Oh, no. You saw the editing within the journey. For those who used it before, that was a real pain. Now you can actually you can drive from the journeys being the focus of your build, and you can go out and build emails, bring forms in from templates, all that kind of good stuff. The automated scheduler, it is really good. But
Ian, can I just ask a question, because just in case move on. I've got a question from Duncan Kerr. He said, what sort of third-party services are now available? So for social posts, which ones are available for Instagram, for example, or for webinars, what integration is available with Teams?
Yeah, really good question, Duncan. Thanks for that. So in terms of the social, the integrations currently are LinkedIn, Facebook, and the other one. Hang on, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I've forgotten now.
Twitter.
I was going to say, is it Twitter?
That's the one. Thanks, Wendy. LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Instagram is on its way, to my knowledge. So that's that. In terms of webinar, it's a really, really good question, actually, because at the moment, the only integration is with a thing called a platform called On24. We are the obvious integration that needs to be in there is Teams. It is definitely on the roadmap, and we are lobbying to get it in there like sooner rather than later. As a consequence of COVID, it got slightly pushed down the agenda because, as you know, the Teams team are not sleeping at the moment. They are doing so much to do really good work for the rest of the community in some much more important stuff. But Teams will be integrated very shortly, to my knowledge, and that for most customers is brilliant. So On24 is very much a big platform, 100,000 users worldwide, that type of thing. On24, absolutely. But Teams, hopefully soon, will be available. Yeah. Thanks. Any other questions at the moment? Should we go over Q&A now? Because that's a fact.
Yeah, we're at
the dangerous
icon.
Sorry, 20 past. Yeah. Okay. So I've got to go now. Quickly then, how to get a demo. On this screen here, if you go to this link here, there's one there that says Get Started button. Click on that. Do not fill out the form. You'll just get Microsoft Phone. You're trying to sell the stuff. Don't do that. I've highlighted there's a sneaky little link in there that says prefer to get started on your own, sign up for a free trial. That's the place to go. That's good news. The bad news is it takes a lot of setting up because you're basically going to get accounts and contacts, but none of the other stuff. But there's a load of templates in there you can play around with. But obviously what you won't be able to do is do that live end-for-end journey, particularly. Have to mention pricing. This is the pricing. If you just bought marketing on its own and nothing else in Dynamics and Power Apps or anything, it's going to cost you 1,100 quid a month. Or if you have one or more enterprise level license, a subscription for Dynamics 365, you can get it for £565. Okay, and on some references that you'll find helpful. The overview, docs.microsoft.com, and like I say, some really good stuff on there. A delightful guy called Anantha Ramachandran. He is the marketing lead for marketing, if that makes sense. And he writes some really good stuff that you see on LinkedIn and Twitter. The delightful Megan V. Walker, who I'm convinced should change her surname to something beginning with P, because then we could have MVP. But Megan writes some really, really clear and very helpful blog articles, and she's writing some great stuff on marketing at the moment. Neil Parker, she writes about everything, but has also written about marketing. And Diliana Radulova, who is writing some really good stuff as well, and she focuses entirely on marketing. So yeah, right. I'm going to stop because I've got about another 5 hours of content, and I haven't got 5 hours. So, folks, have we got any questions, please?
Nothing's coming on the chat. Does anybody want to unmute if they got anything to ask?
Ian, you can still use marketing lists as well as segmentation, can't you now?
You can still use marketing lists, yeah, absolutely. So you can add to static or dynamic marketing lists and then use them as a data input into your segments. So you still need to go to a segment, but you could just have a segment which is just a marketing list. So yes, you can. So there's obviously a lot of people who are comfortable with those from Dynamics 365, and so yes, you can, Wendy. Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
For internal communications, do you need to add employees as contacts? Yes, actually, it's a good question, actually, Kevin, because I need to point out that yes, you do, fundamentally. You need to add them as contacts. Now, the bit I didn't show you was how you can get an estimate of the number of, because marketing contacts are different from normal contacts. Okay, you add contacts to your your marketing platform as those you want to speak to. You may not want to speak to all your suppliers or even all your customers. So therefore, you bring contacts in by virtue of the segmentation list, segments. And there's a button that gives you the ability to estimate what that number is, which used to take hours, it now takes seconds. But once you have included them into a segment, they now count as part of your subscription. So but just bear that in mind. But yes, internal count as well as external. Yeah. What else we've got here? What's your experience with the event portal, specifically the portal user management? Well, if you're using it as it's out of the box, it's got some great functionality for driving events. Great functionality. I've always had the issue about getting it looking nice, if I'm honest. But we've got a particularly good guy that works with us, a chap called Toby, and he makes things look nice, and he makes things work. But the functionality from an end user who's literally just trying to create an event and make it happen, it works really, really well out of the box. So particularly for things like webinars, and of course you can create templates. You can create a template for an event. You can create a template for a customer journey that has the event in it. So if you're regularly doing a once a week or a twice a month webinar, what have you, the overhead isn't huge. Any other questions here? No, I think we've probably exhausted everyone.
Yeah, I think we are running out of time. We're just because we're going to head over to the final few meetings. But thank you, Ian. Just would like to say thank you on behalf of everybody. I think it was a really good presentation and really enjoyed that. So thank you. If everybody would like to take themselves off mute and they can give Ian a round of applause, please.
Oh.
Any
questions?
Very good, Ian.
Don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of the team in Cloud 2020. Very happy to help.
Just to let you know, I've posted up the bit.ly links for the next sessions. We've got Ask the Experts now, and then we have a social hour. Everybody's welcome at 5 o'clock, and so those links are in the meeting chat. Thank you very much, everybody.
Sounds good.